Okay, so for the other three trig functions, there's no standard way to restrict the domains of these trig functions to get a one-to-one function which will have an inverse. And this is why most calculators do not have buttons for their inverses. So inverses of cosecant, inverse of secant, inverse of cotangent. So there's different ways, different books will do it differently, basically. So we will restrict y equals secant x and y equals cosecant x in the way that makes computations and graphing easiest. That's our general guiding principle. And not everybody does this. Some people do it in other ways for other reasons. Okay, y equals cotangent of x is restricted to one branch, which is also not always done. As with the other trig functions, these restrictions are made so that the results are one-to-one, and thus the inverses are functions. The formulas are, okay, so you use these formulas to find the inverses of these. And you see they're fairly simple. So f inverse of x equals the secant inverse of x is just cosine inverse of 1 over x. Remember, secant and cosine are inverses of each other. Reciprocals of each other, secant and cosine. And so that's how that reciprocal of x is coming in there. Okay, so arcsecant of x equals arccosine of 1 over x. That forces the restriction to be chosen in a particular way. And we also have cosecant inverse of x equals sine inverse of 1 over x. That is, arccosecant of x equals arcsine of 1 over x. Now, the cotangent is more complicated. If x is positive, it's the same as the previous two. So cotangent inverse of x equals tangent inverse of 1 over x if x is positive. But if x is 0, you get pi over 2. And if x is negative, you get tangent inverse of 1 over x plus pi. So that one's kind of complicated, but the nice thing about it is that in your text, since they don't want to make it too complicated for you, in the text, the homework, and the tests, you're only asked to evaluate cotangent inverse of x for x positive. So you really only use this top one, the one that looks just like these, looks analogous to these. Instead of using these, you just use this one. So they're just making it a little bit easier for you because this can be a little confusing. Okay.